All right, the time is 11:30, and ladies and gentlemen, this is a Fox 26 Storm Alert Day. So we're focused in on this afternoon and this evening. So far for our area, we don't have any watches or warnings yet other than a flood watch, which continues north of Houston until 7 p.m. But regarding severe weather, we don't have one yet, but we will coming up here very shortly. And we're warning about, well, the potential for damaging winds, the potential for large hail, and the potential for heavy rain. Now, it's not going to be a long-lived flooding event because it's only going to rain for a few hours, maybe 3 hours or so, but it's the hail, the damaging winds, and the lightning that is going to be definitely something that you need to take into account for the afternoon commute, for picking the kids up for school, for any activities that you might have planned for this afternoon. Could get pretty rough. So we're taking a look at our Futurecast model. This is the NOAA model, the HRRR, and looking ahead at 12:30, we're going to start to see some action moving in from the west. And look what happens here. We start to see by around 2:15 an isolated storm there, some more increasingly strong storms coming in from the west, and now by 4 p.m. And by the way, this is one of the models that's showing it moving through a little later in the day. By 4 p.m. we start to see a potential for severe weather there, potential for severe weather here, maybe some hail, and then plowing into us coming up for the afternoon and evening commute, bringing the risk for heavy rain, and then even to the north, the risk for heavy rain, lots of lightning, and potentially even some hail, and then there may even be one lingering behind it. So that's the HRRR model. I'll show you a couple other models here coming up here in just a minute because they're not all in complete lockstep agreement. Very large portion of the country today at risk for seeing severe weather, and this is all because of the orientation of the jet stream. I mean, it's not a coincidence that it's shaped like this. So we have a lot of very warm, humid air in place. We have a strong jet that's going to be blowing over that, and then within the jet you get either ripples, which we call short waves, or you get narrow bands of some faster moving air. We call those jet streaks, and that could really play havoc with lifting up all this warm humid air and creating severe weather for us. So right now here as of 11:32, everything's fine here in Houston. I want to take you out here to our west though, where everything has been exploding just off to the west of San Antonio, and it's making its way into San Antonio right now. Just look at the lightning has just been insane, and these storms went from like 0 to 100 miles per hour, in no time. Went from just kind of getting started to now blowing up into severe thunderstorms, probably producing some hail, lots of high winds out there as well. And then the leading edge of this is heading toward around Cuero in Victoria, well off to our west. But it's an indication that, within the next maybe 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, this stuff should be moving closer to us. So here's a closer look. These are all of the lightning strikes. It is just wild how much, especially this storm, has been producing the cloud-to-ground lightning, and that is very, very often associated with hail. And so I think this one probably is dropping some hail. This is near Divine, I think that's how it's pronounced. So this is here just off to the south and west of San Antonio, and it is going to be moving into Frio County. And this one has a chance of, like I said, producing some really, really not just heavy rain, but hail. In fact, you see where that reflectivity comes in black there at the end? I mean, you think like red is heavy, and then you think maybe the pink is heavy. But when you get into black like that, it's very, very high reflectivity, which means it's very likely hitting hail in that storm. And so, yeah, this one is a doozy, no doubt about that, headed toward the south side of San Antonio. We're just off to the south of San Antonio, and there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for that one, not affecting our area, obviously. It is getting very warm out there. In fact, the warmer we get, the more energy there's going to be for these storms by the time they get here. So at this early hour here, we're 86 degrees for you in LaPorte, 84 for Atascocita and up around Bush Intercontinental Airport, also 84 for the Galleria, for Katy, Sugar Land, but we'll probably add another couple of degrees to these values, topping out around 86, maybe 87 before the big storms come rumbling in. It is overcast though, very humid out there as well. Latest temperature is 84. And that comes along right now with a very high dew point. I mean, 76 degrees, especially for early to mid-May, is very high for a dew point value. It's a lot of humidity in the air and no wind either, which is interesting too. All right, severe hail risk. This area has now been expanded. Earlier this morning, it was shifted a little bit more to the north. The newest update from NOAA's Storm Prediction Center shows that there's actually a very large portion of our area at risk for seeing, well, actually the whole area is at risk for seeing hail. But the darker red area is the one where we have the higher risk for larger hail, and that includes the Woodlands and Katy and Sealy and Brenham and really most of our area. And then when you take a look at the severe wind risk, again, it also contains most of our area out there. Angleton, Lake Jackson, back over to Seabrook and Richmond and Rosenberg and up to Humble, and all of these spots all at risk for seeing some severe winds today. And we're talking about easily 55 or 60 miles per hour coming out of some of these storms, and maybe even above 70. You can't rule that out. So then we got to worry about maybe the power goes out, things like that. Heading into the afternoon. We're looking for the temperature here to make it here into the middle 80s for some spots like Pasadena coming up around noontime, and then of course falling as we head into the rainier part of the day with temperatures falling into the 70s. All right, so I told you a moment ago that we were going to take a look at a couple of other models, with that HRRR model showing the rain maybe coming in more like 4 o'clock, seems to be running behind a little bit. I don't know, this one seems to be doing just a little bit of a better job. So showing some of the lighter rain moving into the area by around noontime. And then we turn our attention to that mess that's out there by San Antonio, so that by around 2 p.m., some rain entering Austin County and Wharton County and getting its way a little bit closer to Houston. And then by 3 or 4 o'clock, here's when we start to run into some problems. 3:30, look, I mean, just plan for this. Kids are coming home from school. Maybe they walk home from the bus stop. I mean, you don't want them out in this. It's going to be a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning, probably some hail. And so try to make some alternate plans if you can. This graph model shows everything starting to settle down west of Houston by around 5 p.m. and then everything exiting the region here pretty quickly. Not all models, though, are in agreement. I want to once again show you this HRRR, which shows the conditions by 2:30, starting to go downhill, but then a lot of the worst of it here across the area by around 5 or 5:30. So we certainly can't rule that out. As far as what's happening out there right now, like I pointed out a moment ago, it's kind of overcast. Here's the area that's at the greatest risk for seeing severe weather, and it's our entire area, and that does not happen very often at all. I wanted to show you this map because it really maybe paints a little bit more, I guess, of a better picture for that severe hail outlook. Remember, I showed you the entire red areas where we could see some large hail, but these black lines here, these are called the hash lines from the Storm Prediction Center, and that is highlighting an area where particularly large hail is possible. I mean, look, small hail we could deal with if it's dime sized or penny sized. Usually it doesn't cause any damage, but when you're in this type of environment, you could see, maybe peach sized or apple sized hail. That can be a major problem. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can maybe total your car, cause some big time damage to your roof. So definitely try to park the car under a covered spot if you can, if it's possible at all. This area for severe wind, the black lines here includes Houston. So now we're talking about, instead of just ordinary severe winds, which would be bad, of maybe 55 or 60 miles an hour, now we're talking about maybe 70, 75 miles an hour or higher out of some of these storms. And keep in mind, we're not talking about tornadoes necessarily. We're talking about straight line wind damage with this. There is a risk for tornadoes. It's a smaller risk, but even if we don't get tornadoes, there could be some wind damage, trees knocked down, power knocked down, all of that kind of stuff. We also have a chance for excessive rainfall, meaning street flooding. So that's going to be a concern also with all this heavy rain coming in. For right now, we do have a flood watch to the north of Houston. That means conditions are favorable for flooding, because remember, these are the areas, Montgomery County and Liberty County, San Jacinto, Polk, Walker County, where we had all of the extreme rainfall that has fallen over the last couple of weeks, 20 plus inches of rain. So the rivers are swollen, a lot of the creeks are still swollen, and flooding might happen a little faster there, but we have to keep an eye on street flooding for Houston too. Again, here's another look at this band of rain out there around San Antonio and just how quickly it's moving in our direction. They actually have some flood watches out here, or flood warnings, out here for those spots as well. So in addition to the flooding, they have severe weather, and that comes along with the threat that we're also going to have more coming up by the end of the week. So I'll leave you with this. Rain today, a lot of it very heavy. Tomorrow is going to be hot, and Wednesday is going to be hot too. We have more rain very likely coming into the forecast on Thursday and Friday. Coming up on Fox 26 News at noon in just 20 minutes, another look at Fox Rad radar, a very quickly developing situation here for us. So we'll see you then in about 20 minutes.